What's going on? This is Big G from G Riders and welcome to another episode of Testing Rides. Today, I'm going to be testing out the 2018 Dodge Challenger SXT. Welcome to the 2018 Dodge Challenger SXT. SXT meaning this is the base model Challenger, so this has the V6. And my opinion, I feel like that this is one of the better deals in the Dodge Challenger lineup. Before you roast me, hear me out. So, let's get to the facts and figures of this vehicle. So this is a 2018 Dodge Challenger SXT. This particular one has no options on it. So this one has the 3.6 liter V6 making 305 horsepower and 268 foot-pounds of torque. And that's through it's rear-wheel drive, of course. And it does have the 8-speed automatic. That's very good. And because of that, it gets a 19 in the city and a 30 out on the highway, which is really good for a car that weighs almost 4,000 pounds. This car is about 3,800 pounds or so. For all that 300 horsepower, 4,000 pounds, you know, you get this Challenger look for under $30,000, which is pretty good. Like, actually, this one starts at about $27,000, and the 2018 Dodge Challenger is a great deal, but it always hasn't been that way. Let's first talk about the design of the Challenger. So, it's no secret that the Dodge Challenger is a rolling blind spot, and it is difficult to reverse and park the vehicle. Well, for the 2018 model year, Dodge has solved that problem by making the backup camera with the new standard 7-inch infotainment system with the Uconnect that has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto standard. Now, only if Dodge could offer blind spot monitoring on the Challenger standard, that will make all these problems better. Now let's talk about why the Challenger SXT is a better buy over the RT model, but with the 5.7 liter, of course. So, like I said in the previous clip, the SXT Challenger makes 305 horsepower and 261 foot-pounds of torque. And this car is about 3,800 pounds, so it does 0 to 60 in about 6 seconds or so, which is around the average 0 to 60 time of a hot hatch. It's possible to find these cars under $25,000. When I was doing research for the video, I was able to find quite a few under $25,000 and under $25,000. Let's talk about the model that's right above this, which is the Dodge Challenger RT, kind of where the official muscle car Dodge Challenger starts. So the RT has the 5.7 liter V8, make 372 horsepower, 400 foot-pounds of torque. Since this car has more engine, it's about 4,200 pounds, so it's quite a bit heavier, but the 0 to 60 time is only about like the low to mid 5 seconds range. Let's say 5.3, just to put a number on it. And again, that still is around the average 0 to 60 time of a hot hatch. So the RT only makes 67 more horsepower and 139 foot-pounds more torque. That torque number is definitely a lot bigger, and it's less than a second quicker, but costs $10,000 more. I don't think it's worth it in my book, according to Do the Math. So let's look at the model above the RT, which is the RT392, formerly known as the Scat Pack. And this car has the 6.4 liter, making 485 horsepower and 475 foot-pounds of torque. And the 0 to 60 time on this car is about mid 4 seconds, which is a pretty fast car versus the 5.7 liter V8 RT. But what's crazy about that one is it's only $5,000 more than the RT, and I think that's a way better deal. So honestly, if you can't afford the Scat Pack, honestly I would start with the V6 because it's going to be enough car for what you want, but you definitely should want to upgrade to the RT392. So, you know, if you're looking to buy a Challenger just for the looks, the SXT is definitely the one to get, just because it's going to offer those same looks, but it's going to be at a more affordable price. But if you're looking for a fast car, you should be looking at the RT anyway. You definitely should be looking at that 392 6.4 liter 485 horsepower model of the Challenger. All right, let's take a look at the inside of the car now and see what it's looking like. All right, before we get out on the road here, I'm gonna talk a little bit about this interior here. So as you can see from this camera here, that the interior is the same as it's always been. Only thing different, like I said before, is this new 7-inch screen that has a backup camera integrated. As you can see pop up there when you put it in reverse. It also has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So it's basically just like the 8.4-inch screen, but 7 inches, which is really nice. And I'm glad that you get this standard now without having the option up to the 8.4-inch screen to get, you know, the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I think that just adds way more value to this car. All right. After this car passes here, let's go out on the road and see how this thing does. Oh. All right. When you get out on the road in the SXT Challenger, it feels just like a Challenger. What do I mean by that? This is quite a big car, so you know, you definitely feel like you're in a Challenger when you get in this vehicle. It's a big car. It's a wide car. You got a long hood. The visibility is decent out of the car, but you know, that's just general Challenger, Camaro, Mustang, all those things. It's the same thing applies to this car. But this car rides probably the smoothest out of all of the Challengers, because this one, it doesn't have the 20-inch wheels on it, so that means the ride is significantly more comfortable than in an RT. But you know, so this car supposedly has sport suspension, whatever that means, but it's extremely comfortable. This car is extremely quiet. As I'll pause here for a second right now, you don't hear much at all, and this car is very comfortable, very quiet, and it's just a nice riding, solid feeling vehicle. All right, so how does it perform? Because half of the muscle car sports carness of this car, it has to handle a little bit well. So when you accelerate here in this vehicle, it does get going pretty good. Like I said, the 0 to 60 time on this car is in the 6-second range, and it definitely feels like it's pretty decently quick. Like, it's, of course, it's not as fast as the RT, but it's as a standard RT, but it doesn't feel too far off from how quick the RT is. Also, you gotta take into consideration this car only has 300 miles on it, so it's not quite broken in yet, so I can't really get a real feel of the car. But if you are buying a used one, possibly you'll be able to feel kind of how decently quick these things are. And you know, like, it's the standard V6. 305 horsepower is definitely a decent amount of horsepower. I mean, you know, there wasn't time too long, like 10 years ago, where, you know, about 10 years ago, you know, a V8 muscle car may have had 300, may have had only 300 horsepower. So now the simple fact that the V6 is not doing that is really good, and they have been doing that for years now. And you know, that's why I feel like this car is a pretty decent deal for the money. So I'm gonna go around some corners here. So you definitely can tell that this thing it can handle well. Like if you put some a little bit better tires on the car and maybe some bigger wheels and lower the suspension a little bit, you know, with some simple modifications, you can make this car handle very well. Even though it is kind of a big boat, this boat still has a little bit of agility to it. Honestly, I feel like it could handle a little bit better than the RT Challenger, just because it has a little bit less weight. It has a little bit less weight, so you can kind of, you know, the car turns in a little bit better than the standard RT Challenger. But again, you know, if this had some better tires on it, maybe it's a little bit wider of tire on it, and had a little bit lower of a suspension, this thing would handle even better. But because this is a muscle car, you don't really necessarily need it to do that. It just needs to be decently quick and be very, 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 very comfortable. And this car is. I took this car again on another 200-mile road trip yesterday on the highway. It's all mainly highway driving, and this thing was so comfortable and relaxing to drive long distances. And you know, that's what a car like this is really about. You want a car to, you know, cruise down the highway comfortably, but still look pretty cool. You know, this is not like your standard mid-size car. This is like a Challenger still. Even though it, you know, has mid-size car-like qualities, this is still a Challenger, and that's what I like about the base model V6. That's what I've always liked about the Challengers, all the way down to the basic one like this base model V6 model. So, how does this compare to a base model Mustang and Camaro? I don't really see a point in cross-shopping the Mustang and Camaro with this Challenger, because this Challenger is a whole different type of car. Yeah, I know everybody's fighting and trying to be the best, but this is a whole different car right now. So next generation, there's been talk that this car is going to go on the Ghibli platform. So if this car goes on the Ghibli platform, that means this car is going to get a lot smaller and handle a lot better and go in to compete with the Mustang and the Camaro. And I think that's going to move this car forward a huge amount. That's going to be huge leaps and bounds for this car. Honestly, I don't think this car needs to compete with it, but if it did, that would be pretty awesome, because I've always liked the Challenger. Out of, you know, the Mustang and the Camaro trying to bring back their retro look, the Challenger is the only one that got it right. And I feel like if they just make this car handle better, it will be even better to, you know, even more attractive package to buy this car over the Mustang and Camaro. And also, one thing that they would have to do is, I would love them to maintain the same amount of comfort that this one has. Like you guys know, I'm a big dude, so, you know, I like being in a comfortable car. So let's go back to the value aspect of this car. So you're getting a 300 horse. You can't think about it like it's a V6 Challenger. You're getting a 300 horsepower rear-wheel drive, kind of a sporty car for under $30,000, and in a lot of cases $27,000 or $25,000. So, you know, how could you complain about that? No matter, you know, how the car is kind of big and it is kind of a boat, but with this car being so big, you actually have a usable back seat. I sit kind of far back to where there's not a whole lot of backseat space, but it can be used. Like last time when I reviewed the Challenger, I had my two cousins, which are about my height. Both of them were in here, and both of them said they were decently comfortable in the back seat of the car here. So this car does definitely have a usable back seat, unlike the Camaro and the. How do I really feel about this car? Honestly, I feel like this is a very good car. This is a very good option to get as a, you know, as a fairly cheap, you know, fun sports car. And but even though this car is kind of big and it's not the V8 and blah blah blah, you know, all that's irrelevant, because this car can be bought for $25,000 with over 300 horsepower and have a level of comfort that luxury cars have a level of space that like a sedan would have, but only 2 doors, and it will have the badass muscle car look that a Challenger or Camaro or Mustang should have. And for that, I feel like this is one of the best deals you can get in the Dodge Challenger. If you liked the video, hit me with the thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to browse the channel and keep riding with me. Thanks for watching.